Now let's check in on the UK election. Joining us live is former President of the Victorian Liberal Party, Michael Kroger. Now, Michael, 1 week out and Labor Party's just plagued by these concerns over anti-Semitism.
Dogged the leader for months and months since the big panorama program on the BBC in June, which laid bare 1 hour of complaints by Labor Party insiders, members of Parliament, head office workers, branch members complaining about anti-Semitism. And the problem is that, you know, Corbyn has been dogged by the view that he's done nothing much about it and that he himself is anti-Semitic and has, you know, fanned these flames. And, of course, last week the chief rabbi in Britain attacked him and now you've seen 70 people sign a letter complaining about these aspects of anti-Semitism within British Labor. It has unfortunately, for Labor, seriously damaged Corbyn and seriously damaged their campaign and overwhelmed to an extent, Annalise, the more popular of Labor's policies, you know, the free broadband, lower teacher numbers in schools, more money for schools, for rebuilding school infrastructure, etc. So, yes, it has dogged him and dogged him badly.
It's kind of extraordinary that Labor has stuck with Jeremy Corbyn, considering it really should be a free kick with the dissatisfaction with Boris Johnson as well. What has led to the Labor Party backing in Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, you know, basically what you've got is a hard left majority within the British Labor Party, and they voted for him and they won't get rid of him, and they're stuck with him now. There's obviously no chance of changing a week before the election, but through thick and thin they have kept him there. He's had his deputy resign, Tom Watson. He's had a number of British MPs resign over anti-Semitism complaints. Jewish MPs have resigned from the House of Commons over this. He is a hard left figure, but that's reflective of the British Labor Party today. You'll remember, you know, a generation ago, Tony Blair had a war with what they called the militant tendency, which was a hard left group within the Labor Party, and he had them expelled at a famous British Labor Party conference. So they've stuck with him because the hard left dominate the British Labor Party today. And you're quite right. If Tony Blair had been leader, or perhaps even Gordon Brown, they'd be doing far better than they're going to do. But they've stuck with Corbyn to their peril, unfortunately for them.
So it is going to be an interesting election result next week. So volatile in the UK right now. Do you think that there is a possibility that it will produce another hung parliament?
Look, it's quite possible. You've got you know, a number of things which make this whole result very uncertain. Weather, voluntary voting. So on a cold, rainy day next Thursday, if the weather's not good, you can actually go out and vote. So the 68% that usually vote, because it's non-compulsory, are they going to get to that? Probably not. So the first thing you've got is the weather, non-compulsory voting, and then, as we've discussed, overlaid on this is this first past the post voting system, which means that the Liberal Party would never lose here in Australia, because if you had it, because the Greens' preferences would not be distributed. In Britain, they're not distributed. So the Liberal Democrat preferences, they're polling low teens. They're not distributed to Labor, which means that the Conservatives, who are the polling at the minute are low 40s against Labor low 30s, probably look as if they're going to get a majority. But, Annalise, as we know, the polls have been so wrong in so many elections in recent years, stunningly wrong, that everyone's loath now to use them as a guide. If you strictly follow the polls, Johnson will get, you know, 350, 360 seats. He needs roughly about 320 to get a majority because the Speaker and the Deputy Speakers and Sinn Féin don't vote, which is why you don't need 325. So of a Parliament of 650, there's about 640 that vote, so technically you need about 320. If the polls are right, Annalise, he will get that. He'll get an absolute majority, and it'll be a stunning vindication of his campaign, which is just basically to stick firm on one issue, and that's Brexit, come hell or high water, and that's what he's done.
And it's interesting you mentioned the polling, because we obviously in Australia had our own experience with some pretty wildly inaccurate polling, but the PM's personal polling that he says showed him that they were on the way to success. Didn't he ship them in from the UK? Surely they've got the same guys working on this election.
Well, look, you know, preferred leader is never the best poll to look at. Always the most accurate poll. It's not infallible, but the most accurate poll to look at is who people think will win. that poll is rarely wrong. It was wrong in Victoria in the 1999 state election, but it is rarely wrong. But look, there's many occasions where an unpopular leader has been elected. Malcolm Fraser was never that popular. Jeff Kennett was not the preferred premier when he won back in 1992 against Joan Kerner. There are many examples where an unpopular leader will win. Is Johnson a hugely popular figure? In many quarters he is not, but you're only up against what you're up against, and he's up against Jeremy Corbyn, who'd be the worst and most extreme British Labor leader we've seen in my lifetime, and an assorted rabble of others. So with a first past the post system. So that's why he's doing so well in the polls.
Yeah, that's right. Someone's got to do it, don't they? Michael Kroger,
Indeed.
Thank you as always for your time.
Pleasure.